Welcome back to the Play by Play podcast. This is a bonus episode of the podcast where today we will be looking at the New Mexico State Aggies Saturday night upset of their I-25 rival, the New Mexico Lobos. We'll be going through the program's statistics over the past 2 years and try to highlight the key pieces and what has made this NMSU men's team better than they were in the previous year. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe, leave a like, and comment down below, as well as share with your friends. And if you haven't already, go ahead and follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of the ads will be down below, and there will be a bar popping up right here, where on those accounts you will get to see my instant reaction to breaking news, as well as always stay notified for whenever the podcast posts another episode. And without further ado, the commentary of the I-25 rivalry starts right now. So we're back, and I feel like we cannot understate how big of a win this was for the New Mexico State Aggies. This was a battle, top to bottom, the entire game going 4 quarters into overtime after that. A bunch of momentum changes. I believe that the Lobos at one point were up by 14. The Aggies are able to come back. They extend the lead, and the Lobos are able to tie it up going into halftime. The Aggies come out huge momentum swing in the beginning of it, and then the Lobos are able to come back at the end and take it into OT. A huge amount of momentum swings here. But what we have to remember is that this New Mexico State program is still in complete shambles, despite the type of ball that they're playing. They are still trying to make do and make the best out of, let's face it, JUCO and low-level mid-major Division I talent. They are trying to turn them into the same teams that defeated programs such as UConn in the NCAA tournament not so long ago. And I have to give a lot of credit to New Mexico State coach Jason Hooten, because he has really whipped this team back into shape. With this only being his second year in Las Cruces, he gets this team out to a 3-0 start against lower competition. You then take a huge step up and going on the road, and they end up getting blown out by Dayton, who, by the way, have started out 8-2 to start the year. They have beaten teams such as UConn this year. They were in very close contests with other great programs such as Iowa State and North Carolina. And I believe that they were in the NCAA tournament last year as well. You then move on to a big-time tournament in Arizona, where they kept it close with both Peppertine and Bowling Green. And, of course, they ended up falling to a Mountain West team in UNLV. But I think the big thing with this Aggies team this year, at least, is that they have yet to seriously been dominated within a game. And now they go into Albuquerque in a big time rivalry game and pull off a huge upset against one of the best mid-major college in the country right now. I mean, this New Mexico team is the same New Mexico team that a year ago was looked at as one of the biggest dark horses in the NCAA tournament. I know that there were a lot of people that were saying if the stars aligned for that team and if they were able to make it past Clemson in that first round, that they likely could have taken it all the way to the Final Four if everything played out right. This is the same New Mexico team that beat UCLA earlier this season and defeated the Aggies last year as well. Now, I understand that there obviously have been some losses to this team. They lost their two major backcourt guards in both Jamal Mashburn and Jalen House. But besides that, they still have a lot of returning guys this year, such as Donovan Dent, True Washington, who have now formed a new backcourt. They are relying on guys down low, such as Mustafa Amzil, who has shown ability to extend from beyond the arc. You have Nelly Joseph Jr., who's been an astounding offensive rebounder, and somebody that the Aggies really had an issue last night trying to solve with. And that was a huge blotch with NMSU last night, is the offensive rebounding game for them was just not there all around. But UNM beats the Aggies twice last year, and NMSU goes on to beat them this year. Because when you look at this game as a whole, obviously you can look at it immediately and say New Mexico did not shoot great on Saturday. They shot 35% from the field, 31% from three. Meanwhile, the Aggies ended up going 51% from the field and 45% from three, including, by the way, 12 three-pointers between both guard Christian Cook and forward Robert Carpenter. But when you look at the bulk of the rest of the game, UNM had a huge advantage when it came to the offensive rebounding game. They went plus 15 on the offensive rebound boards. Both teams ended up even when it came to the rebounding game. Both teams ended up pretty even on the assist game. And the Aggies had 11 more turnovers than the Lobos last night. So even though the Lobos did not shoot well, they had a lot of opportunities. So what was the difference? Well, when you look at the two teams' numbers from last year, it makes all the sense in the world for why the Aggies lost last year. In almost every single statistic, they were the underdogs. There was a 14 point per game difference between the two teams last year, with UNM having the advantage. UNM made very few mistakes, just barely averaging double digit turnovers last year. UNM out rebounded them by, I believe, double digits. They shot a higher percentage than them. But not only that, they averaged the UNM averaged the fifth most field goal attempts in the country last year. They outshot the Aggies by 10 when it comes to beyond the arc, which means not only do they not turn the ball over, not only are they getting more offensive rebounding opportunities on their side of the floor, but they're getting a shot attempt up almost every single time they go onto the court. I believe I have it right here that they went ahead and averaged 65.1 shot attempts per game last year. So they're pretty much getting a shot every single time that they go down the court. In fact, in all of the categories that I just listed, the UNM Lobos were top 100 in the nation in 6 of the 11 stats that I wrote down. That includes points, turnovers, rebounds, I believe, let me look for this. Offensive rebounds, defensive rebounds, free throw percentage, free throw attempts, 3-point percentage, 3-point attempts, field goal percentage, and then field goal attempts. And those 11 categories, UNM was top 100 in the nation in 6 of those. Meanwhile, the Aggies were just inside the top 300 teams in majority of the stats that I wrote down. They were 166 when it came to turnovers. They were 316th when it came to points per game. They were 281st when it came to offensive rebounding, 295th when it came to field goal percentage. The Aggies were just not a great team last year. But when this year came around, the Aggies are now out rebounding the Lobos, rebounding them by +4, and are out rebounding them by a whole +3 rebounds on the defensive side of the ball. In fact, the New Mexico State Aggies are top 10 in the nation right now when it comes to rebounds. When you look at a side-by-side comparison from last year, they get up more three-point attempts. They're getting up more three-point attempts than the Lobos this year as well. They get up more field goal attempts. And despite them turning the ball over a little bit more than they were last year, they're averaging about an upwards of +2 turnovers than they were last year. They're scoring a lot more. Last year, they were scoring 67 points per game. Now, this year, they're averaging about 73. I know that's only a 6-point difference, but that makes all the difference in the world, especially when you're playing against this mid-major type of talent. But why? Why are they scoring more? Why are they playing better defensively? Why are they playing rebounding the ball much better? Why are they having much more opportunities? Well, I want to point to one guy in particular, and one guy, by the way, that I pointed out in an early episode that I made in previewing the New Mexico State Aggies this year. And that man is Deontay Bostic, the man from, I believe, Northridge, Cal State. Was that where he was from? Let's go ahead and check up on that real quick for Deontay Bostic. Apologies here. Let's go to stats. Cal State Northridge. I got it flipped a little bit, but Cal State Northridge is where Deontay Bostic is from. Now, I'm not saying that this team has completely turned around because of one guy, because of Deontay Bostic. Because don't get me wrong, there are plenty of other additions and other players that are on this team that continue to perform. Guys like the guard Zoddy Jackson, who has been great as the Aggies' primary ball handler. He distributes the ball really well, and he is a solid scorer for them to begin the season. He had double digits in Saturday's game. You have Christian Cook, who was with the Aggies last year, who has improved his number subtly from last year when it comes to points per game. He's getting a lot more efficient, and he's on the upwards of 14, 15, 16 points per game average. Then, of course, there are the Shaminga brothers that have been rebounding forces down low. Yes, I know that they got a little bit exposed on the offensive glass on the offensive glass last night on their end. But don't get this slated. They are very athletic. They can run the floor great. They still were able to out defensive rebound uh, uh, um, the New Mexico Lobos. And then plus, when you add into the fact that another returner and Robert Carpenter is scoring in the double digits every single game, is scoring the 6 3-pointers that he had on Saturday night almost consistently every single game, that has a huge thing to do with it. But bringing Deontay Bostic into this team, he has incredible perimeter backcourt pressure on opposing guards. It is very, very difficult for opposing guards to handle the basketball with him. It is one of the reasons why Donovan Dent on Saturday struggled to get going. He only had 15 points per game in that game, and he had a couple of good stretches. I believe he had a stretch of 3 straight buckets going for 6 points. But don't get me wrong, his impact was in spots because Bostic is relentless. He continuously pokes for the ball. He moves his feet very well and has some solid length to go ahead and cut off defenders. Not only that, but once he gets deflections, he does a really great job at being aggressive in transition and capitalizing off of points off of turnovers. And like I said in the earlier video that I talked about them, what this Aggies team really needs is an identity, is something to ride around, is something that can give them a face. And I think this year you're starting to see players like Zoddy Jackson, like Chris Cook, like freshman guard George Pickens, really embrace not only Bostic's relentlessness, but Coach Hooten's known defensive intensity. I've seen it at our home games. When they get into that second half and crunch time comes around, these guys sit down on their man and they are able to guard great defensively around the perimeter. When it's at the beginning of the game, they're able to create so much havoc and turnovers, and not only that, but then be able to turn it around and go down the court and capitalize off of those turnovers. And with the amount of guard depth that they have, I mentioned Zoddy Jackson, I mentioned Jordan Pickens, Chris Cook. They also have returner Jaden Harris coming off of that. It is becoming very easy for Coach Hooten to continuously rotate these guys in and out and keep that defensive perimeter intensity. Not only that, but because these guys are much bigger guards, they are rebounding a lot better. It's a lot more the reason why the Aggies are rebounding well this year is because the Shaminga brothers are boxing out really well. They're doing a great job battling below, and the guards are coming in and swooping out rebounds. I see it every single home game. Now, don't get me wrong. They still do need to improve things. They need to get to the line more. They need to get to the free throw line more. I believe, let me see, I have it here. They only get 14.1 free throw attempts per game, and they're only shooting 64% from the line, which isn't great. So they need to overall continue shooting at a higher percentage. But with the trajectory that they are on now, I would not be surprised if this New Mexico State Aggies team competes for a Conference USA title and goes in as a very, very low seed in the NCAA tournament. And that will be their next step in rebuilding a broken but historic program this year, especially if they can continue to get returners like they had with Robert Carpenter, Jaden Harris, and Christian Cook this year. And that's all I got for you guys today. Overall, in summary, UNM with a pretty poor shooting day, but NMSU with a great job on their perimeter defense, able to stifle New Mexico's work by getting defensive rebounds, which led them to big time opportunities. And I think that New Mexico State is slowly beginning to not only improve, but starting to find the identity that they need in creating the future of this program. So I want to thank you guys so much for your support on the podcast. If you like this video, please go ahead, go down below, subscribe, leave a like, comment down below, and share with your friends. And if you haven't already, please feel free to follow us on all social medias, that being TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. All of the ads will be down below, and there will be a bar popping up right here. And without further ado, guys, this was the Play-by-Play podcast. I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.